Welcome to Health Conscious Entrepreneurs, where we uncover secrets to balancing entrepreneurship, life, and healthy habits to achieve radiant health. I'm your host, Ngoc Tai, and today I have my friend Carrie Ladue, all the way from Rochester, New York. Welcome, Carrie.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
Yes, and please tell us, share us what you do, what your profession, and what brings you joy.
Well, I am a business coach and an energy healer for heart-centered entrepreneurs who really need more clients to fill their practice. But what I love most about what I do is that in my programs, we focus not just on, the typical marketing, target market copywriting, advertising aspect of business. We focus just as much, if not even more so, on the personal development journey and helping you to really move past your blocks and your barriers and quit the self-sabotage and overcome self-doubt. Because what I've come to find is that I can teach people all the best marketing strategies in the world, but they won't execute. They'll sit, they'll hide, they'll play small. They won't follow through if they're not feeling really good about themselves. So we spend an awful lot of time on that.
Yeah, that's so important because it has, again, we say coming back from the core, right? The core of who we are, being empowered to know our, empowered to know our power, really. And one of the things that you were talking about, I was like, wow, perfectionism. I have that problem. It's like I try to be so perfect in everything I do. This whole journey of health, it's like I try to go take this class, that class, and I feel like it's never perfect, and I never have enough. And then so I want to hear more what you say about perfectionism and share it with the group.
Yeah, so this has been coming up an awful lot for me in terms of my work with my clients, but also, it's a part of my own personal journey too. It's one of the things that I have to look out, be on the watch out for myself, because I was a longtime perfectionist, always striving, always making it better, better, better. And what I started to understand about it was how that was really a coping strategy and a coping mechanism and an avoidance strategy to avoid rejection, and I was afraid of what other people would think of what I was putting out there into the world. And it's so time consuming and energy draining. And the truth is that when you're like wrapped up in those perfectionist tendencies, you're so not in your center. You're not, you're not connected to your highest self. You're totally in ego. You're totally insecure. You're not feeling worthy and not feeling good enough. And so when we can see perfectionism for what it really is, then we can start and really be honest with ourselves. If that's a tendency of ours, then we can start to catch ourselves in the act and say, okay, what's going on for me right now? Why am I obsessing over this document or this product and not putting it out there into the world? And we can really look at that and go, okay, how am I feeling? What's really going on under the surface? And I think so much of being a healthy business owner is doing that all the time, repeatedly, looking at our behaviors and wondering and being curious about them and being real with ourselves about the emotions that are at play and really driving the behaviors that could be getting in our way of success. And ultimately, the biggest problem with it is it's not only getting in the way of our own success as entrepreneurs, but we're then not serving the people that we really want to be serving when we're not putting our work and not promoting our services to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true, because I feel like, like I mentioned before, I was trying to do all these things, and now I'm like, okay, I've come out to the point where I'm gonna have to put something out. And I recognize my fear, because I know a lot of my procrastination that happens with me is like, I put it aside and there's that little voice that keeps coming back that says, you got to do this, you got to do this. But then it keeps saying, no, I don't. But I don't recognize the emotional what's going on. And one of the example is I want to say that I have to do these opt-in videos. Mm-hmm. And these opt-in videos, I was like, what's holding me back from doing opt-in videos? And I should be doing that right now. But I'm doing my interviews and I haven't done my opt-in videos. There's something that's holding back. I'm afraid of saying something in this opt-in video.
Yeah, afraid of not getting it right? Not getting it perfect. Yeah. And the thing that's so fascinating about that is when you think about who you connect with when you come across people, you're probably not connecting with people deeply who come across as so perfect they're robotic.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't, that's not who resonates with us anyways. We just like to know that people are people.
Mm-hmm.
So then why do we think that for us to, when we're going to present ourselves, we can't just be people that stumble on words and make mistakes and do all those natural things? It's really interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And I'm recognizing that, oh, there's something going on in my brain that I'm afraid, or something that I'm not doing it right. And so I've been holding it off, but I know I have to do it because if I'm going to launch this whole summit, I need to have an opt-in video. I have to all these things done, but I'm doing my interviews first. And then also recognizing when I'm doing this whole summit, what's been so powerful is that I've made mistakes and I've come back to the experts and say, hey, I'm so sorry I messed up on the time, or I'm so sorry in my first interviews I was looking sideways, or my background wasn't good, or things like that. I'm acknowledging my fear and acknowledging the mistakes I'm making and asking the experts, and they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. We can do the video again. And it's been so powerful to be learning from the mistakes I made.
Yeah. Well, I think that what you just said is so important too. You're making me think of this fear of failure,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this idea that mistakes are learning opportunities, we have to embrace that. We absolutely do. And lots of times when I'm working with somebody who's being really hard on themselves for having made a mistake, it's like, well, what would you say to somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
if they made a mistake? Well, you would tell them it's okay and not to be so hard on themselves. Can you take a little bit of your own advice?
That's true.
We're really good at being gentle and kind with other people, but we can be really hard on ourselves as entrepreneurs. And I think kindness and compassion is really important. And especially if you're new to business, like you didn't go to school for this, you've never done this before.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like learning anything else that's new.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be challenges, there's going to be slip ups. That's how you learn.
Yeah, it's very true because I've done so many businesses before. I've had a tea business, I had a jewelry business, I had an outsourced business with my ex. And each time it's a different set of skills,
Yeah.
right? And you have to learn these skills. Like now I'm doing this, it's a different set of skills. Before we didn't have virtual, we didn't have Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I have to figure out how to get a camera, I have to get a microphone, lighting, all the
Yeah.
setup in the background. It's like, and then like connecting with people, sending emails out, and I've never done those. Those all like new skill sets that I'm building, but I'm just like loving it and I'm embracing it and I'm stepping into the power and just making mistakes. And I'm like, okay, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, and that's the other thing. If you can look back, if you can take stock every, 3 months or so and look back on like what are all these things that I just learned over the course of the last 3 months, you're like, oh my gosh, look at how many things I didn't know how to do before. That to me is really empowering.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel like it's limitless,
Mm-hmm.
like there's just no end to what it is that you can achieve if
Mm-hmm.
you're willing to make mistakes and actually give it a try. That's a requirement. You just have to be able to try.
Yeah. And your professional background, you were in corporate before, right?
I was in consulting. I did a lot of consulting, more in nonprofits, a little bit in corporate. I was in leadership development and organizational development. So I used to go into large organizations and help them try to make their dysfunction functional.
That must be interesting.
It was interesting work for sure. It definitely was. But I'm loving the coaching. It's working one-on-one or with small groups and watching that transformation and watching people break through, their blocks. It's so fulfilling. It really lights me up every single day.
Yeah, because we're touching lives, like one person's life at a time where you can see the gratefulness,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like when I was talking about like my water or something, introducing people to health. And then they're so grateful when they come out of feeling so much better. And what you're doing is so impactful because you're changing a person's perspective, right? You're changing the way we're doing our business. And then so the impact is that we're growing our business, right? We're changing our own personal life to create something much better that's more in tune with like who we are and what we do, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, maybe this sounds funny coming from a business coach, but growing the business and getting fully booked with clients, to me, that's like the happy side effect
Mm-hmm.
of all the other work that we do. You know, we're really shifting people's identities and how they see themselves and helping them to really step into their greatness and really acknowledge that they're super powerful and super capable. And that translates into every other aspect of their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yes, getting more clients is great, but getting more clients if you're still feeling crappy about yourself, like
Yeah.
that's not good enough for me. You know, that's not good enough for my clients. I want you to feel amazing
Mm-hmm.
while you're growing your business.
Yeah. And we can tell too. We can tell if our coach is committed to us, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you can't, as a coach, you can't fake it. You know, because you have to resonate, whatever your messaging is, it has to resonate from your core as a coach, right? And you're like, then when we feel that you're being authentic, when we feel that you have our best interest, then that's when we want to like learn more from you and take what your wisdom and grow from it.
Yeah. And I think also open up and take risks.
Yeah.
You know, people have to feel safe. They have to be willing to be vulnerable. We don't do that if we're not being held within by the presence of somebody who really cares for us.
It's so different than corporate. And I'm in corporate because in corporate we can't have those discussions because we're so fearful of being sued, right?
Mhm.
We're fearful of all these politics. We're fearful of how people perceived us. And I feel like the corporate world is holding back to what truly authentic, like what's important to the employees, right? What's important to what motivates them, what their values are, and what makes them tick.
100%. And I think what we're seeing more and more, like more people are waking up and really saying that we need high levels of engagement and we need leaders to exemplify emotional intelligence. And if they don't get it, they leave. They're
Mm-hmm.
going somewhere else. And the companies that are most successful these days are treating their people like people.
Yeah.
And those are the companies that are going to continue to thrive. And I think we're going to see a shift
Yeah.
where the corporate cultures that don't make some shifts in this area are going to really struggle. Because if you're going to be competitive and you're going to keep up with the pace of technological advances, you need your people on board. You
Mm-hmm.
need them like really on board. And we've got to start treating people better in those sectors.
Yeah, I remember my corporate world experience. There were some managers where they just don't get it. They don't understand.
Yeah.
And you can't, no matter what you tell them, they just don't. I guess you call it emotional intelligence. It's not connected to the leadership. And as a result, you feel like you're, as a person who you're reporting to them, you don't feel empowered, right? Like you don't feel like you can make decisions or what you're doing is right. And then you feel kind of small.
Well, and so if we think about then why people tend to struggle when they open up their own business,
Mm-hmm.
is if they've been in that kind of a setting and that's how they've been treated and they've never had this autonomy and they've never had the ability to be totally creative. Like when you have your own business, you get a blank canvas,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and people are not, if they haven't experienced that before, it's so much freedom and there's no container, and that can be really hard for people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, because then you don't have the structure too. Because
Mhm.
now you like it. So it's definitely being a business owner is such a balance, right?
Mhm.
Because we put on so many different hats as a business owner, but we also have to make sure that we're controlling our time, that we are committed to putting work towards our business and growing our business. Otherwise, like, okay, you're the one that's, if you're not working, you're not going to make money.
No, I mean that's really true. And it's kind of funny because myself, my business, my clients, we're like very woo, as people would call it. And so there's a lot of us that do a lot of work around manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. Like some of us are really good. It's pretty easy. It doesn't feel like we do much work to building our business, which is great. But I usually have to clear up the misconception. It doesn't mean that you just like sit there and like hope for the clients to come. You still have to put in, like, take some action. You still have to do some work,
Mm-hmm.
to manifest what that vision is that you really want.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I see a lot of people struggle with when they move from, say, corporate to owning their own business, the structure in corporate felt suffocating.
Mm-hmm.
So then they move into their business and they're just like, no, like no structure, no schedule, like I don't want to hear it, la 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 la. And you have to have some kind of structure,
Uh-huh.
because if you don't, your mind won't ever
Mhm.
relax.
Mhm.
If you try to carry all the to-dos that you have to get done any given week to run a business successfully, you'll drive yourself crazy.
Mhm.
So I like to help people shift their thinking about that and help them to see that a schedule and a structure and systems, they're liberating.
Mhm.
They're not constricting, they liberate your mind and they allow you to relax. And isn't that what we all want?
Yeah, because we want to use our mind for things that's important, like creativity,
Yes.
right? And we want to use the structure to keep us in order. Like for me, as an accounting background, so I use spreadsheets.
Mhm.
So spreadsheets and keeping track of like the dates, people's time, where they're from, this whole summit. It's like I had to keep all these data, and so I can coordinate all this because the calendar wasn't serving me. So I had to really physically create a spreadsheet
Yeah.
and put all the things in order, so then I don't have to worry about it. Then I say, okay, now I have a reference point. When I need to look at it, I'll look at it, and then my brain can just work on other things. Okay, how do I have compensation? How do I coordinate the other things that's important, and how do I get more people into talking to the summit and stuff? So it's like we have to use the tools that's available to get us to in a better space for our business.
Yeah, in my business, we use project management software. And, running your business and growing a business, it's a project and it requires management.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is so important about that, what you're saying, like how you can focus on how you show up, you got to be really clear about what your role is as a business owner and what it's not. Your role isn't always to be in the weeds
Mm-hmm.
dealing with technicalities. That's what your assistants, then that's what you hire for. That's why you delegate. It's so that you can show up powerfully
Yeah.
for your clients
Yeah.
and really serve them. So you can focus on that and you can focus on the marketing and growing the business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important, I think, to be clear. It's different, especially a lot if there's people that are coaches. A lot of people like, oh, well, I am a coach
Mm-hmm.
who owns a business. I think that's actually the wrong priority. I
Mm-hmm.
think you're a business owner who happens to be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And can you think about just like energetically how different it is to carry that identity as a business owner as
Mm-hmm.
your priority
Mm-hmm.
versus a coach? It really makes you kind of up level a little bit in terms
Yeah.
of things you're
Yeah.
paying attention to.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about it's like now we're doing Zoom. You have all these background noise, the people coming out, the garbage guys are
Oh, there's like
coming.
lawnmowers going outside my window. I know. I think at least everybody's in the same boat though, right?
It's so powerful because I had interviews where, people walking by, and it's like, but it's part of life now where we can laugh about it. It's like, we don't have to be perfect. We have all these noises going on, but at
Yeah.
least, we're having conversation. We'll still do what we need to do. That's so awesome. And back to, so what kind of tools, if I was to start out as a new business owner, right?
Mhm.
So what do you suggest I do and in getting organized? What kind of tools do you suggest that, when you're talking to a new business owner, what kind of advice do you give them?
In terms of how to get organized,
Yeah.
the first thing I would do is say create an ideal schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And so thinking about like what time you want to get up in the morning, what time you want to go to bed, an ideal morning routine and an ideal evening routine, because how we start our day and how we end our day, it either makes or breaks whether you're going to have a successful, productive day or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then thinking about, okay, of all the things you need to, knowing what all the like big buckets are of work in a business. You have client connection and outreach, you have serving your clients, you have foundational stuff. If you're building a program or you're working on marketing materials, plug those in to your week on different times, like depending on your energy. Some people are really great and creative in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it's like better in the late afternoon. So know yourself and create a plan and an ideal schedule that really honors who you are and when you're at your best.
Yeah.
And then also chunk your time. Like don't see clients 1 hour and then do marketing the next hour and then see clients again, because the brain has to transition every single time you're doing a different task. So working in time blocks, put all your clients on the same 2 days a week or the same 3 days a week. Give yourself the other 2 days to do other work. Things like that help so much. Just figuring that out for, I think, a new business owner is key. And then the other thing I would add to that is planning at 90-day and then weekly and daily time segments. So setting 90-day goals, breaking those down, then every single week, like maybe on a Sunday, if your work week starts on Monday, looking at that week in advance, so you have like the big picture. Again, your brain will relax if you do that. If you have a big picture of your week, you won't just be wondering the whole time what you're going to do. And then every single morning, again, prioritizing, like what are the 3 most important things to get done today? That system has worked phenomenally well for me and many of my clients that I've worked with. It can be a real game changer.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because when we're in corporate world, what we do is we're required to do these to-do lists, right? We have these goals. We have these annual goals as part of our performance review. We have annual goals that we have to set, right? And then the company has their goals, right? And every individual has the goals, the department goals, and then the employee has their own individual goals and our development goals. And then every week and month, we look at these and we're like, okay, how do we accomplish these projects as our goals? And then we break them down into, okay, weekly stuff. Okay, weekly, what am I doing weekly? So it's like, how do we as business owners have to shift that mindset? And a lot of us, when we get into from being self-employed in the beginning without I think the corporate world exposure, it's different than the people who have corporate world exposure, right? It's like the people who have corporate world exposure, we already have these kind of mindset of structure, I think.
Yeah.
And then, so then when we transition to being our own entrepreneur or doing our own business, I think we bring some of that structure to our business. So then we're more like structure and not knowing what to do.
I think that's really true. I mean, I think I was really blessed the fact that I had so much project management, like large, big team project management in my background. It definitely served me in terms of being able to name what it was I wanted to accomplish and break that down. However, for anybody listening whose doesn't have that background, these are all things that can be learned, and also why hiring a really great virtual assistant with project management skills can also be such a huge asset, because they can teach you if that's not something you're really good at and help you to get organized and can help set up your systems and your structures for you.
Yeah. So that's exactly it's so true, because we don't know everything, right? And so we have to allow ourselves to have the help, right? Allow ourselves to have a virtual assistant. I mean, I have a virtual assistant who's amazing. She's like helping me with this whole summit. And, I have another social media person who helps me with social media and guiding me. And so I, before in my other businesses, I didn't have that. I was like, I was full-time job, but still like trying to do everything myself. And now this time around, I feel like, okay, now I have to pay for all these because it's so important. I'm getting the coaching I needed, right? And I'm getting the virtual assistant, I'm getting all this other stuff and bringing it all together. And I feel, okay, I feel a lot better, even though I have multiple things going on. I feel like I'm not as stressed, as crazy, where I'm trying to do everything myself.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's the recipe for burnout. And if you ever experience burnout as an employee before you owned your own business, you'll just recreate that pattern if you don't learn to delegate and get support. And I hear people say, like, what's the biggest objection to that? Well, I can't afford it yet. You can't afford not to, because really the high leverage activities that you need to do as a business owner to build your business, it's not messing around inside Active Campaign, figuring out how to build an email automation, for example, that is, so I think a lot of mindset shifting around what actually makes money in the business and what doesn't. You can find somebody to help you for $10 an hour internationally if you need to, if that's your budget right now. But you need to be focused on client connection and marketing if you really need more clients to grow your business. And having a great assistant has been such a game changer. I mean, it's the way I scaled my business. You know, like you're only going to grow so far by yourself. You're
Yeah.
only one person. There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
So, and I'd love to see people make that choice sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's not this like, wait, oh, at this certain point, then I'll be ready. Like, no, get the help now so you can get good systems and structures in place from the beginning, if it's the beginning.
Yeah, and that's so key because I, and then don't make the mistakes because I've made so many mistakes and losing money. But now I'm like, okay, I'm treating really as a business. I'm not treating it as a hobby that I'm doing on the weekend. I'm treating, okay, I'm consumed with my business thought and the planning and being very intentional of, okay, what are my next steps? What are this? And not just like, even though it's a side business, but it's still truly a business that I'm passionate about. And I
Yeah.
think that's key.
It is key. I mean, yeah, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's the time in that's required. You're going to feel resentful of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also like to think of it as why it's so important to treat it like a business and not a hobby. Like your clients deserve that from you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're spending money, they're supporting your business. They're not here to support your hobby. And I think that upping things a level and making sure that it's super professional and things run smoothly and all of that, like a business should, good customer service,
Mm-hmm.
that matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if your customer is not happy, what happens? They leave and then they start saying bad things about you, right? So if you have a happy customer, all they're raving about you, they become your raving fans, and then they tell, okay, hey, I know Carrie's amazing. You should use her. And so that's what I do with all my people who are helping me. It's like, she's amazing, you should use her. And so then they're getting more referral from me because they're providing me the service that I felt I needed and they're supporting me. So then I refer other friends to them. So it's all about referral service.
That's really important. I mean, that's the fastest, easiest way to grow a business, right? Is good referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I'm thinking about if I'm going to refer somebody or not, I'm not just thinking about the expertise that they have as a service provider, but I'm thinking about the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about all their customer service. I'm thinking about, were they really communicative when I worked with them? Did they meet deadlines? Was it easy for me to like book time with them? All of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that if you're treating it like a hobby, you're probably not paying a lot of attention to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just today, before we chat, I was on on Facebook Live with one of my VA, and she's just raving about me. I'm like, wow. She says I'm an amazing client and all that stuff, and she keeps mentioning my name and her thing, and it's just like, it's the relationship. It makes me realize how important, I know how it is, but just makes me reiterate how important it is to have these amazing relationships no matter who they are, right? No matter if they're your client or the people who's helping you, you have to have that relationship, right?
Oh my
And then
gosh.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
You treat people like gold, always.
Yeah.
Even if you have the kind of like difficult client,
Mm-hmm.
they still deserve to be treated with love and respect all the time. And I think that's just your business is an energetic extension of you.
Yes.
And so I just think that matters. Be in integrity about those things for sure.
Yeah.
My two assistants, my business would crumble without them at this
Yeah.
point. I mean, they're integral to what we do.
Yeah.
And man, I hope they feel loved. I love them up all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like it's a different kind of business now where we really focus on a relationship, right? Like we're so much more aware. Before we don't, like, it's a different kind of mindset in business, but now it's like a shift, I feel like, where we're shifting to more of a relationship with the building between up and down across everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to believe that maybe that's happening because of people that are concerned. I think a lot about equity. We talk a lot about equity in my business and how to make sure that we are promoting an equitable business and an anti-racist business and a business that is welcoming and supportive for everybody. And so I think about equity, if that is a value that you hold, then that's a value that goes across like every single aspect of your business. Even the people that you employ, they are equal to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Yeah.
they are equals in the human race. They deserve every little bit of, respect and love that I do.
Yeah.
And I'd like to believe that there are more and more people that are operating their businesses in such a way.
Yeah, powerful. And if we all do that, makes it so much more enjoyable for all of us, right? It's just
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I
yeah,
mean, hire people that you want to hang out with,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like they're extension of your friend. I feel like my friends are extension of my family, and the people that I surround myself with, I just treat them like family. And the people I work with, you just treat them with respect and love and just care about them and listen. That's the most important thing, is like listen to them and see what they need, or how you as a business owner can help them improve their life too. Because
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up. So one of the things that I had reflected on over the last couple of months was when I was employed,
Mhm,
you were given a job description.
mhm,
And granted, I wouldn't take a job if I didn't like the job description,
mhm,
but there would be things on that job description that I really loved. There would be tasks and responsibilities that were a great fit, but then inevitably there's always stuff that I wasn't a big fan of.
yeah.
And either I just didn't like it or I wasn't very good at it. And I think that's how traditionally we have conceived of jobs.
Mhm,
Well, I decided because it's my business and I get to make the rules, I was throwing that out the window. So now it's divinely guided. My employees, they craft. I find the right people,
mhm,
they craft their ideal job,
mhm.
and then we match their responsibilities to that job. I
Amazing.
thought, I don't do things in my life that I don't like doing anymore. Why should I expect that of the people that are associated with my business? And it's been incredible. They have felt so empowered to be able to say, this is what I'm really great at, and this is what I really love.
Mhm,
And then the things that they don't really love to do or aren't so great at, there's always going to be somebody else that
mhm.
enjoys that part of the work too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how human nature is, right? Because so we're all unique in our own ways. And we're all like, we have certain things we're passionate about. And it's not what you're passionate about is, could be somebody else is not passionate about, right? It's just like, I'm passionate about sailing and talking to people and things like that. But I know people who don't like talking to people. And so it's okay. I'll do the talking. Just give me the network, give me the introduction. I'll take care of all of that. So it's just like
Right.
I love how you mentioned that, is how we empower our people, right, through the things that they enjoy doing and not forcing them to do things. I mean, of course, there's certain things we have to do, but not like continuously, because that's just crazy. It's like doing things you don't like doing is just madness.
It is. And then they're sitting there feeling resentful. I want people to be that are part of my team to be, 110%
Mm-hmm.
engaged in meeting our mission and doing the work that we do. And I think right now that's the case because they get to do the work that they really love to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. We can talk forever and ever. I love it. So any more tips for people starting out for as entrepreneurs, and how to take care of themselves also?
And my biggest tip would be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself, don't be so hard on yourself. It's a
Mhm,
journey.
mhm,
It's got ups and downs, and building a business is going to push every single one of your insecurities. It just
mhm.
is. Just know that and like embrace it, embrace the ride, because it's the best personal development that you probably never knew you were signing up for.
Yeah. So do you have specific downtime that you have for yourself and your family that are non-negotiable?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That stuff is that's in the weekly schedule, just like everything else.
Okay. So it's important to do that. It's because we get so buried and caught up that we just like, keep going, 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 and we forget to have some downtime to reconnect to the people who are important to us.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that to me, so like you've got to be in integrity with your message. My message is all about building your business in a state of flow. If I'm going, 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 I lose my center.
Mm-hmm.
I start to get cranky. I start to get
Mm-hmm.
tired. I'm out of alignment at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay for me. So I've got to practice what I preach. And to really show up for your clients powerfully, you've got to take good care of yourself for sure. And it can be hard because I don't know about you, but I really love what I do and
Me
I
too.
love working on my business too. So it's very easy for me to put a lot of time in. So I need to watch that and make sure that I'm connecting with people that are important to me and like
Yeah.
just being outside, being in nature, doing things that are creative.
Yeah.
All of that makes you a better business owner.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I love my business. I mean, I can talk to it all the time because to me, it's an integral part of me. And that I just don't see it as a business. I
You're
see
right.
it as a passion of okay, helping people get healthier, bringing awareness to water, bringing awareness to health, bringing awareness to this. And so I talk so much sometimes that I have to be mindful that my partner or my son is not engaged, and it's like, no, you have to stop. And then so we do take breaks on the weekends. We try, it's like, okay, well, let's just take a weekend trip and go somewhere and get away, not work and just unplug, because we need a brain to reset.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't be activated all of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last question. I asked all, I think we can talk forever and ever. There's so much we can talk about. Last question for you that I ask all my experts. If you had one superpower to change the world, what would that be and why?
I would blanket the world with love. Just that's it. Love, self-love. I think if people could wake up in the morning loving themselves, I think all of our problems would be over.
Yeah. And then we would stop and listen, right? And go back to the humanity of communicating. So
Yeah.
important because right now we're all in virtual. We're not hugging. We're not, being that face to face, really getting to know someone, sitting and just having coffee or something like that. It's so important. I feel that we have to get back to somehow reconnecting with people and getting to understand and to listen and with compassion and kindness and understand what people are going through and empathize and share.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so important. So how do we find you? uh, if you information to find you.
Yeah, so you can go to my website. It is at DG, it stands for Divinely Guided. So dgcoachinghealing.com.
Awesome.
dgcoachinghealing.com.
Yes, and for our viewers today, we have a little gift for them.
Yeah, it was interesting. Right when the pandemic first broke out, I just woke up in the middle of the night with this real serious drive to create something that was going to support people through what was such a stressful transition into our new normal. And what came out of that was a series of guided meditations to help balance the chakras, the
Mm-hmm.
energy centers of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And gotten some good feedback. People have really enjoyed them. So I offer them up to your listeners as a free resource for them.
Awesome. So we'll put the link for that and have people tap into that resource. And so do you every day meditate and yeah.
Yeah, meditation for me is like brushing my teeth. If I don't, I'm not my best self.
Yeah. So is that something you do in the morning or at night? That's your routine?
In the morning.
Okay.
In the morning, sometimes twice a day if it's one of those days,
Yeah.
but always in the morning. I really feel the difference in my day and in my energy and in my ability to hold space for people
Yeah.
when I'm meditated versus non-meditated.
That's amazing. For me, I need to go for my walks, or when I'm off not in alignment, I usually put on Deepak Chopra affirmations, and I always just listen and listen just to like get grounded back again, because we just get, or put on some music or something like that, just to get back into center, because we do get out of line because of all the craziness that goes on.
Yeah, whatever works. I always say to people, like, people are like, meditation's not my thing. That's fine. Just find your thing. Whatever it is, just find it
Yeah.
and do it
Yeah.
because we all need support being grounded and centered in this really chaotic time that we're living in.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful that we connected. And you being on part of the summit is most powerful information that we have for everyone. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right.